right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm welcoming you to the new year in the old year with a new Majora T Speaks for the New Year edition. Hopefully a happy one, but it's always a happy one when I got some great video content lined up for you. And I certainly do. We got some excellent videos in store for you today, so I hope you're looking forward to them. Let's kick it off with a little look at the games that I beat for the year of 2020. This is going to be an excerpt of a video that will be released on the channel just after the Majora T Speaks. 10 games from the 2020 backlog. Let's take a look at a couple of them, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pans and pots, it's me, Majora T, out here today at the end of 2020. What a year. I'm sure we can all say that. It was a year to be remembered or to be forgotten. It's up to interpretation. One way that I do want you to remember it is as a great year for video content creation, especially for video responses. Today I'm doing a video response to my good friend Mr. VG Mashup, who did an excellent mashup of his own for games of 2020 that he completed in his backlog. He picked 17 out of 65, which is quite a number, and after doing this video multiple times now, I understand why he didn't talk about all 65 of them. I beat 32 games this year, so I'm going to talk about 10 of them. Have you played any of them? What were your thoughts and experiences? And are there any that you would like to try? So be sure to go check out VG Mashup's original video as well. I'll have it linked in the description below. With that being said, let's get started. In January, I played a couple Pokemon games. The one I want to talk about is Pokemon Sword. Okay, so I like Pokemon. I enjoy the mainline Pokemon games. I really enjoy the classic ones, especially the first 3 or 4 generations. Even Black and White wasn't bad, so maybe the first 5. I was let down by Pokemon Sword, especially because this game had the potential to be the definitive console Pokemon mainline game experience, and it just wasn't. The concepts were interesting. I liked the fact that the gyms had these kind of unique challenges in them. There's one where you're like, kicking the Wooloos down the soccer field as like a kickball game or something. Then you got to fight your way to the gym boss. And that was interesting. But a lot of it just fell flat. And a lot of it just, while I was playing the game, I had to ask myself, like, why? Why is this the thing? Like, okay, I get it. Like, there's like this evil syndicate that uses the Dynamax in order to, make monster Pokemon or something and to win the gym battles. But it didn't tie together in a nice way, in a way that like had me convinced. And so, while there were cool ideas like Dynamaxing, and I liked the kind of the thrill while you're in the boss or the gym battle and you're using it, I was underwhelmed by the end. And then the wild areas. This is another thing that had so much potential. I liked the idea of like, fighting Pokemon that were higher level than you from the very start of the game and like trying to avoid them. But again, there was no value to it. There was no purpose. And so Pokemon Sword, first game of the backlog that I want to talk about. It was interesting, but failed to hit home. It's possible the DLC later on changed that. I don't know. Did you try it? Let me know. And did it fix the problems that that I've kind of identified with this game originally? Okay, going into February, the next game I want to talk about is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. No, wait, that can't be right. It's not possible. Actually, it is. It's the first game that I got a platinum trophy for on the PS4. Big deal. It was a big move. It's actually really not that big of a deal, but in a sense it is. This game is kind of known as like the Donkey Kong Country-ish. So like immediately you're not really like, calling this game as it is, as its own unique thing, you call it like a successor to Donkey Kong Country, which is kind of a shame because even though there are definitely similarities and callbacks to Country, I would argue that this game blends the classic 2D platformer with the things that we've come to know with modern platformer games and kind of like collectibles really well, in a way that I don't think Donkey Kong Country necessarily does. Maybe the modern ones do it, but not the classic ones. There was like a high incentive to collect tonics and to explore an overworld. Donkey Kong Country may have like kind of like the Super Mario Bros. Style like map progression, but you don't explore the overworld in the same way that you do here. There was like almost two games. There was like the 2D side-scroller levels, and then there was the 3D overworld. And you could like, do little tricks and like talk to Trouser and get him to unlock a door and then try and find like the hidden bees. There were a couple hidden ones, and then every bee gives you, like another life saver when you're fighting the final boss. Very, very interesting novel game, and I think it's one that it's unfortunately overlooked a lot. I do wish that like Playtonic might move on from this, because like they've been really trying to push it for a while, and it's just not really hitting for a lot of people. So I would like to see what their next project is, but I did really enjoy my time with it, so I would recommend trying it out. All right, nothing too notable for March, but for April, I do want to talk about Pokemon Crystal. So I'll probably talk about this at a later date on this channel or on the Button Mappers. But I did also play Pokemon Blue earlier in the year. I liked playing Blue so much that I played through Crystal. I just downloaded it on my 3DS, and I beat the first 8 gyms, and I fought the Elite Four, and the credits rolled, and I didn't do the extra content at the end. Crystal is really good, I think, and it adds like new features and still keeps the core Pokemon gameplay the same. And I don't care so much about like the Suicune and like, which is like kind of like the selling Pokemon for this game. Interestingly enough, I guess it represents kind of like the female character choice, also in the game. But there's something like very nostalgic about playing Pokemon Crystal. There are some things I don't necessarily like as much. I felt like Red and Blue like felt more substantive in terms of like the areas throughout the game than Crystal did. A lot of these towns felt small, and the game kind of progressed a lot faster. So even though there was more content, I felt there was less within each individual piece of content, if that makes sense. I don't know. Which do you prefer, Gen 1 or Gen 2? Let me know. Okay, for the month of May, the game I want to talk about is The Witcher 3. So it was my first time playing a Witcher game, and it was on Switch. I had owned it on PS4 before, but I just didn't care to play it. But based on the Netflix series, I got really into it, and I wanted to really give it a try. So I bought the Switch bundle, and I played through The Witcher 3 as Geralt of Rivia. I really like Geralt. He's comparable in a sense to another character I'll talk about later, as this kind of like masculine, prototypical male character you can identify with, who, and like he's very rough and rugged, but you still like his like personality. And that came throughout the experience for me. I clung on to him pretty well. And, there were some really well-told storylines in the main story. There were some interesting sub-stories, but nothing I got too lost in. I did enjoy, just the populations and the people who inhabited the islands, etc., or, like, the places that you go to. I know not all of them are islands. I did feel towards the end of the game, it started to feel not rushed, but not as well told as the early parts of the game. But I still, it was an experience that I didn't forget after playing it. So I did enjoy The Witcher 3. And I recommend it. Okay, June was huge for me. I played 7 games, 5 of which were Sonic games, but I'm going to talk about Sonic 1 on the Switch. This was more than a port. It was it was a way of life. No, Sonic 1 on the Switch was really good and it was really memorable for me because I put a lot of time into it, and so much so that I just played it over and over and over again. If you ask Alex, he'll tell you like I played 30 hours on my Switch just this game of Sonic 1, which is a game you could beat in an hour. But I got like obsessed with time attack mode, and I actually made it to the top 10 leaderboards. I don't know if I'm still there. Someone might have displaced me. And then I beat my spot on top 10 leaderboards, and I hit like number 8, I think, or 7. And I just got really into it. I really liked how they added things like the spin dash. I like how like they had the features where you could pick, like the stage that you're going to, stage select mode. And even though there was not that much content, it was just a really good port of Sonic 1. And they've done this so many times, they've ported it so many times, so you think to yourself, how much can they really improve it? But this was a very good game, and I really enjoyed putting time into it. Oh boy, I really knocked out some heavy hitters this year, that's for sure. But there is always a backlog in my collection, and although I've gotten better at it over the years, there's always been a couple games that have kind of been like little bit of nags. They've really been nagging me, like, "Oh, play me," and I just never really do. So the next table topics is related to that. Let's take a look at the new table topics for the new year. Hey y'all, just getting my trusty PlayStation squat workout in. It's me, Majora T, and I'm happy today to invite you to another installment of Table Topics, a series where I invite you, the viewer, to participate in some gaming related topic, either via the comments or a video response. If you do a video response, I will add it to the community Table Topics playlist. Great playlist where you have a lot to check out. Last time we got a couple good responses. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. It's holiday break. But I believe Terry309, Fabrelon, and Maltamaster joined the battle. Thanks, Maltamaster. Good to see you, man. So go check those out at your convenience. With that being said, this Table Topics is aligned with the new year and looking back at the old year in terms of your games. Recently, I talked about my backlog and how I finished 32 games for the year of 2020. Wow, that's amazing. With that being said, I know that there is one game in your collection that has just been there far too long, and it's a problem. It's a squatting problem. This is a backlog squatter. It's a game that has been squatting literally in your backlog. Excuse me, the squats are killing me here, as are the squatters. Squatting, it's a real problem, especially here in the States. But with that being said, what is one backlog squatter that you want to talk about that has been squatting just a little bit too long in your collection that you want to do something about? For me, that has to do with PlayStation. And it's a game I don't know is anywhere else, at least that I can play it, but I want to play it. And it's been in the collection for maybe 4 or 5 years. Chrono Cross for PlayStation. I liked Chrono Trigger. I enjoyed it on the Super Nintendo. I mostly played it for Spencer because Spencer loves Chrono Trigger, and had a very cool style. I don't know if I fully absorbed the narrative arcs, but I did finish it, mostly because it was on the DS. My thing about Chrono Cross is that I actually think it looks better and it has some cool systems, but I haven't gotten more than 2 hours in. Primarily just because of platform, just because it's on the PlayStation, and I know I can play it on my PlayStation 2 as well, and there are PlayStation 3 models that play PlayStation 1 games. But I've not had the means to do so. It's also a hard game. It's one of those kind of RPGs that if you game over, like if your character dies, you game over, and you have to start after the car passes, after your last save point. That's brutal and it's hard, but I still want to do it because it's a really good looking game, and it's probably one of the notable PlayStation RPGs out there. And considering the Chrono series is kind of like short-lived, it had Chrono Trigger and then Chrono Cross, and that was it. I would like to be able to say, like, I played, both. That I played both in the series, and really have a definitive opinion on them. Even Chrono Trigger, I'm not sure that my opinion is definitive. It was okay when I played it. I did a review back in the days. You can watch it. But I would like to play Chrono Cross as that point of comparison. With that being said, have you played Chrono Cross? What did you think? Is it worth, putting up with the squats until it stops squatting? Making it squat a little too long to that point of just being like on the verge, on the burn? No more squats. We're calling it for a day. We're playing Chrono Trigger. What should be that drive? And that's, I think, also a good kind of angle to take with your backlog squatter. How do you plan to do it? How do you plan to play it, going forward? I did say that this is a game I would like to play, so what is my means? Well, I think the biggest thing would probably be setting up my PlayStation 2 again. And, I got the PlayStation 1 memory card upstairs. I have all the tools I need. Maybe just spending a week at the house, where I have the CRT, and really digging in that way. Maybe just put a good 10 hours in. I find that with RPGs, one of the best things you can do is get over the hump. Get over the hurdle, like the first 10-hour block. And then once you do, you have a foundation for playing the rest of it. I'm only 2 hours in from when I played 4 years ago. That's not enough. I really need to make that commitment. So, in the new year, I would like to play Chrono Cross. I know it's going to be hard because I am doing more Dragon Quest. I'm almost done with Dragon Quest 2, so that's taking precedence right now. And then Dragon Quest 3. But I would like to make time for Chrono Cross. All right, with that being said, what is one squatter in your backlog that you would like to take care of? Thanks for watching. It's been Majora T. I will catch you with more table topics to come. In due time, my friends. In due time. That's a Latin pun. Chrono Cross. Oh, whoa, hey, didn't see you there. Just caught me in on my squatting workout. I really needed to add a few more in there. Just, keep the gaming muscles strong. Backlog squats, trying to knock some of these games out of the backlog. Speaking of the backlog, I did manage to add one more game to the list for 2020. 2 nights ago, I beat Dragon Quest 2. Here's a look at some of my memories of the monsters of Dragon Quest 2. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Majora T, out here today to give you some of my very own Dragon Quest monster memories. This time from Dragon Quest II, the Dragon Quest game that nobody likes to talk about. I will be going according to Akira Toriyama's Dragon Quest Illustrations. It's a great book that contains the artwork for all of the mainline and spin-off games. I've done a few videos on it. You can check out a playlist that I'll have in the description below. But we are going to look through the art of Dragon Quest II, sort of synchronous... What's the word? It's not synchronously. Terry, help me out here. Chronologically. There we go. Chronologically from the start to the finish. It doesn't exactly work out perfectly for the art section today, but if by chance you still want to play the game before you see the monsters, like the final bosses, I'd recommend you do so before checking out the art. With that being said, let us begin. Just clear my narrator voice here. We're going to start with the artwork that you would see on the cover of the game. On the right side, I believe this is the Famicom artwork. And it's kind of cute. I like how, your main characters here are feeling kind of subdued. It does look like the Prince of Canik is poking the main character in the butt. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maria, the princess, seems a little surprised while Hargon's laughing about it. But this is... still a good depiction because, you are the main character and you're a descendant of the legendary hero, but I guess you're still trying to see if you can live up to his title. On the left-hand side, we have a bit more of an edgy depiction of that artwork, which I happen to like quite a bit. The evil character Malroth, who's terrorizing the land, is well depicted in both. He seems very scary, and I'm sure he could really chew down on... a burrito. Turning the page, we have more kawaii depictions of the main characters. Note, that's a very big distinction from Dragon Quest 1 because you only had one main character. This time you got party members. And this is what I mean, although, you're playing as the Prince of Middenhall, it's still interesting that your party as a whole seems relatively weak by comparison to other main heroes that you've played as. You really do get that sense you need every single party member. Two odd things to point out here. One is, I'm not sure why, but in this section of the book, they included monsters from other games that were not in Dragon Quest II. So, like, on the right, you'll see, like, the Boonicorn, the bunny unicorn. I'm not sure why that's here. That wasn't in this game. You'll also see that kind of, like, robed figure. I don't know what's going on with him, why he was in this game, in this picture either. On the left-hand side, I'm just not sure. I really do like these sprite-looking artworks. I'm just not sure what's going on with Cain, the Prince of Canik. Why is he depicted as a Robin Hood fox? Does anyone know? I'm not really sure, so I would love to know. Okay, so we're going to go now to the last page of the section for Dragon Quest II. It's 21, and the reason being that's where it has some of the starter monsters that you see. It doesn't go perfectly in order, because the next page goes to the final boss, but anyways, trust me on this. Okay, as I was pointing out with the artwork before, there's a couple monsters here that are not from Dragon Quest II. I'll point them out to you. Starting top to bottom, you have this kind of octopus-looking thing. That's not in Dragon Quest II. You have the merman. He's not in Dragon Quest II. You have this sea dragon snake in the bottom left corner. He's not in Dragon Quest II. Oh, and also in the top middle of the page, I don't think I saw one mimic chest in Dragon Quest II. Notable monsters here that I fought or remembered are the gas in the top left corner, the cobra in the bottom middle of the page, and the orc king, and the gold orc in the bottom right corner. You only get the depiction of the main orc, but... The gas was interesting because only my main character really seemed to do any significant damage to it, and it cast annoying status spells on me in any cave that I was in. So that was always a priority for me, was take out the gas. Call National Grid. Something's wrong with the gas. So that was interesting. The cobras always seem to inflict poison status on me, so I would try and get them done first. Although poison was not a big deal in this game. And then the orcs. The orcs were really formidable and well... I don't know how to say they were well adjusted to your kind of level as you were progressing through the game. I remember the gold orcs being like a real hefty monster to take out. So those are a couple memorable ones. On the right, we have a couple interesting monsters here. None that were so standout, although I do like the art style of like the gremlin, the vampirus, the gargoyle, even the hunters. I do like those things. They look terrifying. But don't underestimate them. But what I wanted to call your attention to was how there's kind of a similar style to a lot of the pertinent monsters here. You'll notice like the sorcerer has this bat-looking thing, this evil bat-looking thing on his chest. And that's kind of a symbol that is, representative of like demonic influence throughout Dragon Quest II. And you see like that shape in like the gargoyle, the vampirus, which is it's called some kind of pterodactyl or something in the American versions, and then the gremlin too. They all have this kind of winged evil look to them, and they're holding their arms out. So just bear that in mind. Even on the specter and the demi ghost in the bottom left corner. All right, turning the page. Another issue with some non-Dragon Quest II monsters, such as the rock bomb, the spider, and this little manta ray thing. I don't know what's going on there. Everything else here is fair game, though. Memorable ones for me include the Cyclops, include the Mace Master in the bottom right corner, not to be confused with Malta Master, and the Attack Bot. Not too much to say on them, although the Cyclops and the Mace Master and the Attack Bot really pack a punch. Attack Bot was interesting because I used the Prince and Princess of Canik and Moonbrook, respectively, to inflict status stuff like decreasing defense or causing confusion or like kind of like surrounded, making them lose accuracy. And that didn't work on the Attack Bot. And they are kind of interesting creatures as you go later into the spin-offs, etc. So I do happen to like Attack Bots. They are kind of underrated. The Cyclops was powerful. They were no joke, but kind of like big, dumb creatures. So you didn't have to worry too much about them. Mace Masters, though, you got to watch out for. Watch out for Mace Master. Watch out for Malta Master, too. You should go check him out on YouTube. All right, on the right page, we have kind of retro depictions of previous characters, and then we also have some notable ones here, including the Babel in the top left, the Sea Slug towards the bottom, and also it's called like a blizzard. It's this kind of like flame-looking thing, but towards the latter half of the game, they're blue. Those things were deadly. When they cast Defeat, that was a one-hit kill if it worked. Also, shout-outs to the Heal Slime. I do love me a good Heal Slime, even if they weren't like so significant in this game. The Sea Slugs were annoying because in this game you sail. You have the sailboat, and they would show up like 4 at a time, and they would put you to sleep, and they would also cast defense, so your defense would go way down. So don't let them get the best of you, especially when you're sailing. You may need to do some grinding. Let's grind on over to the next page. Here we got some seriously deadly monsters, with the exception of that Dragon Quest V, right? Monsters. What's going on here? What happened with the art book that they put like all these different monsters in this version? Dragon Quest II has 74 monsters. There is room to put monsters here. They don't have to like reuse old ones. But anyways, the Bat Boon and the Bull Wong in the top left and top right, respectively, those things were deadly. I had to grind so hard to take these things on. The Bat Boon, they'd show up 3 at a time, cast Fire Bane, and Kane would die every single time. And I needed him. Because my party was weak. And so, like, I guess one good thing about this game is you can defend, in your turns. I don't think you could do that in the first game. There's no need to because you had one character. But yeah, these things were annoying to deal with. And then the Bull Wong, oh my gosh, this thing had a spell called Explode It. It would do like 60 damage. And, at this point when you're in the game, your characters are not well over 100. So it's like nearly destroying your whole party one hit at a time. And there's no like mass heal spell. There's not like multi-heal. You can only heal one party member. So, oof, these guys were tough. They had high HP too. Noteworthy to mention, in Japanese translated, it's Lesser Demon and Greater Demon. Speaking of demons, let's talk about them. We got 2 main demons for Dragon Quest II. And here they are in all their glory. It is Hargon, and in my version, it was called Malroth. And you had to get like the Eye of Malroth to use in the game. These guys are scary. This is like typical like Dragon Quest demon fare. It reminds me of some of the other bosses I've fought throughout the series. They also look very similar. Remember, I mentioned that like the kind of evil bat looking thing is like a trend here. The Mace Master and the sorcerers, etc., they had this symbol of the bat on their kind of, like their garb that they were wearing, and so does Hargon. And when he summons Malroth, you see that in its final form. That was a vicious battle, very hard, but I enjoyed it. You had to scale this whole big tower, fight a bunch of mini bosses, before you fight them, and oh boy, it was good. It was worth it. Dragon Quest II makes you work for that ending. So, speaking of Dragon Quest II, I encourage you to check out me and Spencer over on RPG Archive. We'll be doing a podcast on it in the near future. With that being said, these are my Dragon Quest monster memories for Dragon Quest II. Which one of these was your favorite monster, even if you don't know the exact name? I know there were some interesting ones I overlooked. Thanks for watching. I'll see you with more monster memories to come. Oh, Dragon Quest, the memories, the nostalgia. It goes back to my childhood. I do love it. I love the artwork. I love a lot about Dragon Quest. And I like talking about it as well. And that's one thing I did recently with Spencer in a podcast on his YouTube channel, RPG Archive, which you should go check out if you haven't already. We are going to be releasing a podcast solely on Dragon Quest II and all of the ins and outs and everything about it. Here's a little excerpt of that. So proud of you, son, sister. What have you done to my brother? You killed him. Just stabs Zero King. Oh no!
Credits roll.
It would be beautiful.
So, Dragon Quest II. We've gotten through it. What do you think of Dragon Quest II? What's the legacy? What's your opinion on the game?
Okay, you said it was frequently hailed as the black sheep of the series, and I just think that's unfair. I think that this game is still a kind of like the stepping stone to future Dragon Quest that we would see. We see that even just in the very ending there. But to say that this is the worst Dragon Quest game just because nobody talks about it, or just because it wasn't popular then, really undersells how great and improved the experience is here from the first game. I would actually look at this and argue that it's a stronger game than Dragon Warrior 1. What do you think about that?
I would definitely think it's a stronger game than Dragon Warrior. Absolutely. When we say that it's the worst game of the Dragon Quest series. I think, well, for one, I think of it in two ways. One of the ways is it's the worst game of a series that we love.
And I just want to clarify, it's not necessarily that you or I is saying this is the single worst game of the series. Maybe you're saying that. I'm not saying that.
I do say that.
Okay.
I do say that, but it's the worst game of a series that we love.
How do you say this is worse than Dragon Quest 1?
Okay, so from a purely mechanical perspective,
okay,
it's definitely better than Dragon Quest 1.
Okay.
Like if you're looking for like the Dragon Quest experience, Dragon Quest 2 has much more of that experience than 1 does.
Okay.
And in better form. But when you look at it from like a historical perspective, because like honestly, 1 through 3, honestly, like as much as I like 3 and I'm excited to play it, those are like old games.
Yeah.
And you know, people might hate on the concept of it, but I don't really like playing old games if I have the choice. I would love for them to get remade into like a new engine and everything, and that would be awesome. But in general, they're old games. So if I'm going to go back to play 1, 2, and 3, it's really honestly more of a historical journey than be like, oh, this is interesting. This is how they made it back then, and this is how they did this, and this is where this started. And from that perspective, Dragon Quest is a little more interesting.
The first one,
like to see like, oh, here's their original thought of what the series is. Here's their original thought of this. And Dragon Quest 2 is like it's almost equally as interesting, but it's like here's where they tried to fix it, and some of it is like, ugh, this isn't the way they should do it, and they changed it later because it was bad here.
Yeah.
And so from a historical perspective, I think that's where people say 1 is probably technically better in a way than 2.
I could see that. I see that as like kind of an identity thing. It's you think of like, it's funny, these Dragon Quest games have these huge subtitles. Like we didn't even talk about the one for this game. The what is it? The Luminary of the.
It was given that later, right? Luminaries of the Legendary Line.
Okay.
I think that given that, like, because it originally was just Dragon Quest 2.
Okay, yeah. But you know, we create our own kind of subtitles for these. Like Dragon Quest 1 is the original RPG.
Yeah. Dragon
Dragon Quest 2 is what? The clusterfuck?
the quicker fixer upper.
The Cave of Roan Plus.
Yeah.
And so, like, while there are improvements, for sure, I happen to love, like, I think the storytelling was done way better in this game than it was in the first one.
And that there is storytelling?
The fact that there is storytelling at all. Yeah, exactly. Some things were just made worse in the process. Like the progression system is like, it's in the first game, it's probably manageable. Like I think you could manage playing the first game at the time without the guide. This one, not a chance in hell. You need that guide. I'm not convinced you could play this game without that guide.
It would be tough. It would be very, very tough. They wanted to jam pack it with a lot more stuff, and I applaud that. But they didn't have the experience or the technical know-how to achieve making that actually work. Mm-hmm. And so instead, you just had to hit A against that tree.
Dude, I'd have given up then. I wouldn't have even known to use the Eye of Malroth to make the barnacles disappear around the Cave of Roan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's so many moments I would never figured out. I wouldn't have figured out even the dog leading me to go pick up the gold key from the patch of grass.
Yeah, well, no. And that's the thing about these old games is that, and that's another reason I just don't like playing them that much. Like from a fun perspective. Mm-hmm. Is that they're too antiquated in a lot of that. Like they didn't have an answer for that. So it's pretty much just like a follow the guide kind of thing. If I don't want to spend like 50 hours trying to beat it. Yeah.
But if I can overlook that, the aspect of needing a guide to play it, there's so much substance here. This is the fight against Satan. You know, this is the fight against the Bat Demon Lord. This is the fight for the legacy of the Erdrick line. Mm-hmm. You know, he even fights with his family. The main characters are his cousins, even if they do suck. You know, this is the fight of humanity against evil. So, like, I hesitate to say that this is worse than Dragon Quest 1. I think it's a better, messier package.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, that is a very good way to sum it up. It's not as simple, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do have a more engaging everything. Combat, narrative, overworld. It's just not intuitive.
Yeah, and I think people... And what's cool is that I do like that they tie all the stories together, mm-hmm. 1 through 3. So this becomes necessary, but it's a necessary stepping stone for 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just excited to see 3. 3 is like the complete evolution.
Yeah. Beautiful. This is a great start to the new year. And one other way that you can have a great start to the new year is by joining the Discord, Sworn Brothers, where you can drop me a question for Q&A for future Majora T Speaks segments. Just check the link in the description below. With that being said, I'm taking a look at the Discord, and we're going to go sequentially. There are a ton of questions. Y'all really popped out, starting with BioPhoenix. What are some RPGs I wish got released to the West that have never have been? Great question. I've wanted to play Dragon Quest Monsters Terry's Wonderland. Yeah, shout outs Terry. I love the Dragon Quest Monster series, and the one on 3DS looks beautiful. I want to play it so bad in English. I will play it if I have to in Japanese, but you know, that's one game I definitely really want to play that has not been ported yet. Beautiful Alex jumps in with, what game franchise would I want to see in RPG form? His is Earth Defense Force as a tactical RPG. That's pretty easy for me. I've mentioned it before, and I'm kind of set on this idea. It's Star Fox. I think Star Fox could work as kind of, not necessarily like a grid-based RPG, but like where like Slippy has interesting mechanics, get it? Peppy has some skills, you know, Crystal's in the party, or, you know, like there could be some cool storytelling too. I would like to see Star Fox as an RPG. It almost came out as a Dynasty Warrior style game. It's going to be called Star Fox Warriors, but that didn't happen. I think I'm kind of preferring that. I got to scroll down quite a bit here to get to the next question. And apologies if I missed some. There was a huge banter in this section. That's fine, but thank you. I see Terry has labeled his question, which is the most overrated RPG ever made. I didn't think about this. Most overrated. I'm not good at these because, like, I don't know what people are really saying about, like the popular opinion is. I know personally that I didn't think Final Fantasy VII was as good as people said it was, but I know that there's a rift in the community regarding that game and Final Fantasy games in general, but also like people are on all ends of the spectrum with that. I hesitate to say it because, like, I would say Chrono Trigger because I wasn't that crazy about it when I played it, but people seem to be like all up in the air about it. But I feel like I haven't experienced it fully, so I'm hesitant to answer that. I don't have a good answer for you, Terry. It is a good question though. Question, is the Nintendo 64 really a console? Well, it is. Question, how many PS2 games have I played and which one is the best that I've played? Last time I updated the backlog for my PS2, it was like 2 out of 20 that I had finished. One was Katamari Damacy and the other was Title Legends 2. I played every game on there. Me and Alex did a video on his channel. That's pretty much the full extent of it. I really like Title Legends 2. I've never played the first one. I would play it, but I think the second one is better, for me anyway, has more spaceship shooters. So yeah, and Katamari's not a bad game, but you know, if I was going to play it again, I'd just play it on a Switch. Tony Stark is Iron Man 19. Question, do I think Nintendo has another piece of hardware that, if they have another piece of hardware that bombs like the Wii U and Virtual Boy, they'll have to become a software company, only like Sega did? No, I think, from what I've read, they have tons of financial worth, and I think they could afford it, especially with the high that they're on with the Switch right now. In fact, they barely make software. They're like the expert management company because they're managing all these little companies to get their software onto their platform right now. So honestly, I think they're good for the next few decades, even if they totally blow it. But that is a good question. Terry, what is my favorite video game intro cutscene? Oh man, I gotta pull this off the top. I don't know. Favorite. I can think of some good ones. Yakuza 0 has a really good cutscene. Rave Racer drops one in. I just like the heavy songs, like I'm thinking of Persona maybe. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for this. I'm sorry, Terry. I should have thought about this. Let me look at my collection and maybe I'll give you a better answer. Okay, Star Fox Assault is a really cool one. I like how dramatic it is. Everyone kind of rushing out on stage. Star Fox 64 is really good. I like the kind of like polygon run, kind of like the Joe Biden run. I do like Star Fox 64 and Assault for their cutscene intros. That is a good question. Question. Oh man, y'all popped out with the questions. I appreciate it. I think this is the last one. So, Rave Racer 91. Is there any little detail, situation, problem that I consider big in a game? A little detail that's a big problem. That is a good question. I like how you kind of like put parentheticals around those. I don't know. I didn't really think about this. I just don't have a good answer for you. Let me look at my collection for a sec. Maybe something will get triggered here. I don't know. Okay, yeah. So I'm looking at like Wind Waker on the GameCube, and I tried playing it recently. And I know people like the art style in it, but there's like a serious fog, and I think that's called draw distance. So like when things that are in the immediate like proximity of your vantage, like what you can see, are still foggy. Okay, so that happened in Wind Waker, and it was a nuisance. But I was playing Skies of Arcadia Legends on the GameCube, and the draw distance was just not good. It didn't look good on my TV, and I don't know if that's like a little problem of the GameCube that like when replicated on my TV is just makes it harder to tolerate like this transitionary period between a clearly polygonal style and a more realistic high definition style. It's just in an odd place, and it just makes playing GameCube games on the TV a little imperfect. And I guess I can put up with it, but it's caused them to not age very well. And so that's actually kind of a problem that I've noticed, not so much isolated to any specific game aside from like the Wind Waker and the Skies of Arcadia, but to the console. And so that is a really good question. I appreciate the question. And as mentioned, you can leave me a question for next Majora T Speaks in the Discord. Check it out. We also have a voicemail number where you can call into the show and leave any comments or questions, and I'll be happy to play them on the show, as long as they're appropriate and everything. The call number is 917-267-8313. Once again, that's 1-917-267-8313. We got a voicemail from a great viewer, Mr. VG Mashup, friend and fan of the show. Appreciate him for coming by. We're going to listen to his two-part question.
Hello, Majora T. Two questions for you today. It is December 25th, so this one is important. First, what brand / type or flavor of cookie would you recommend? I really need to make up some points for Santa, so any type of brand, whether it's generic or some specialty mom and pop bakery. Love to hear your recommendation for that. Secondly, you have been appointed CEO of Nintendo. You have two missions. One, take an existing active Nintendo franchise and shelve it for a while. Two, start a brand new IP for the company. What two choices would you be making? Obviously the IP is going to be new, so I'm kind of looking for the type of game.
Yeah.
Love to hear the responses. As always, thank you so much for taking the questions. Can't wait to hear them. The answers, that is.
Nice. Good questions, Mr. VG Mashup. The first part, I'm not a sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth. But if you really want to go above and beyond, peanut butter. I love peanut butter and cookies. I don't know. It has kind of like that, like a chewy taste. I like a good peanut butter chunk. I don't know. And I feel like that would be easy to make if you're baking them. So that's my recommendation as far as cookies. The other question is also a good two-parter here. Shelve one franchise from Nintendo and introduce a new one. So, I think the hard part about this is that Nintendo shelves their franchises as it is. A lot of these best ones we haven't really seen. Metroid, Star Fox, F-Zero, where are they? Like the gamers, they're hurting right now, Nintendo. So like that's a thing. But of the ones that like are current and existing and still really popular, we have like Mario, Zelda, Fire Emblem has risen, in popularity, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon. I don't think you should ever take out Mario or Zelda. I think you should keep those coming because they are generally really good games no matter what. Fire Emblem I would keep. I would honestly say like it's got a growing fan base and there's potential there and they're doing good things with it and it's maintained consistency even in terms of the games. I'm not crazy about Fire Emblem, but I do appreciate them. So I would say keep it. Pikmin, did I mention Pikmin? Well, Pikmin is not really like they've pretty much shelved it anyways. They just re-released 3. It's like that's all they're doing. I don't even know that you should say like that's shelf worthy. That really leaves Pokemon. And I hate it when people say, like, when you play a Pokemon game, you're playing the same game, no matter what the game is. That's just not true. There are differences every generation. And, I just feel like there still have been some serious missteps. And since the question is about shelving it for a while, I wouldn't mind if Pokemon Company just, took Pokemon and shelved it for a year, 2 years, figured out what's going wrong, what was wrong with Pokemon Sword and Shield, what didn't people like, why is that DLC alone doesn't just fix the problems here, and really reflect and make it better, because like Pokemon deserves to be better. That game deserved to be better, the first console Pokemon game, and that was a big disappointment. I mentioned that in the backlog video, but I would like them to shelve it and figure out what's going wrong there. The second question is very awesome. I love these kind of creator questions. What Nintendo does is they innovate. They innovate with the consoles. They innovate with the franchises. Note all of those major franchises are distinct even in terms of genre. And what I think Nintendo does really well is they capitalize on genres. So Zelda takes the 2D, 3D action adventure. Mario takes the 2D, 3D platforming. Kirby also for 2D platforming. Fire Emblem is strategy RPG. Animal Crossing is a life sim. Ring Fit Adventure, I'm looking at girlfriend's Christmas present right there. They got the exercise thing. Like they are really good at knowing the market and knowing what they already do and what they don't do. And so, like even Mario covers sports and kart racing. And so what I would want from a new Nintendo IP is for it to be purposeful, for it to be valuable, for it to be something that people are clamoring for, that they really want. They don't need to tap into the FPS market. They already have these companies doing that bidding for them. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary that we get another Zelda clone. I don't think that matters even in terms of 2D or 3D. I think what matters is the gamers and the games. But I think what matters is what's relevant this year and what's relevant for Nintendo. And when I think about Nintendo, I think about the Nintendo World Theme Park attraction, and I think about like the success of the Animal Crossing sim, and I wonder if there's a way to combine the two, to do some kind of Nintendo World video game where you make Mario rides or you make Nintendo attractions. It reminds me of like a roller coaster tycoon in a sense, and then you get to be the management team behind it. Isn't there like some potential there? Like I loved Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's one of the first games I ever played, and I'm not a PC gamer, but I was very fond of my experience with Roller Coaster Tycoon. Maybe they could like do some kind of crossover. And I'm not talking like the modern Roller Coaster Tycoons are not the same. I don't know if it really does translate to console as well, maybe it is a console destined thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is an idea with potential? Yes or no? I'd love to hear your comments and also your thoughts in the comments below. What Nintendo IPs would you like to see created? Great question, VG Mashup. Thanks for it. Appreciate it. That's it for Majora T Speaks New Year edition. It's going to be a great year. Let's look forward to it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to y'all soon. With more games on the backlog completed.